My parents threw me out with a garbage bag after wrongly blaming me for my brother's drunk driving crash. And now, years later, they're asking to move into my home because they're struggling and have nowhere else to turn. I never imagined they'd contact me again after what they did. Yet here we are. I'm 25 now, and out of nowhere, my parents have asked if they can live in my house. These are the same parents who forced me out when I was 17. They handed me a trash bag for my belongings and shut the door in my face. It all stemmed from my brother's drunk driving accident, which they somehow pinned on me. Let me give some background. I grew up with one sibling, my older brother. Let's call him Matt, now 27. Matt was always the favorite, the one who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. If he got in trouble at school, they'd find a way to point the finger at me for causing a distraction. If something broke at home, I was blamed, even if I wasn't involved. That was my childhood. Matt was the golden child, and I was the fall guy. Despite this, I tried to stay out of trouble and keep the peace. By my teens, I mostly kept to myself or hung out at friends' houses to avoid the constant favoritism. I thought I'd escape the drama when I turned 18 and could leave on my own terms. But I never got that chance because I was kicked out at 17. Here's how it happened. One night during my junior year of high school, Matt was in a bad car accident. He'd been partying with friends and decided to drive home drunk. I wasn't there. I was at home studying for a test. Matt lost control, crashing into a fence and a parked car. Thankfully, he survived, and no one else was seriously hurt. The parked car was empty, but his vehicle was wrecked, and he ended up in the hospital with a broken arm and a concussion. My parents rushed to the hospital after getting the call. My aunt, my mom's sister, phoned our house to tell me what happened. When I reached the hospital waiting area, my parents were frantic and furious. But to my shock, their anger was aimed at me, not Matt. The moment my dad saw me, he started yelling that I caused the crash. I was stunned and asked what he meant. Matt was the one who chose to drink and drive. I wasn't even there. My mom was crying and wouldn't look at me. My dad kept shouting that I must have done something to upset Matt earlier that day, pushing him to go out drinking. That evening, we'd had a minor sibling argument over dinner. I'd teased Matt about his new girlfriend in front of our parents. Lighthearted stuff, nothing serious. He got embarrassed and upset. Dad scolded me at the table for disrespecting my brother. Matt left the house afterward, likely to let off steam with friends. That was the last I saw of him until after the crash. In my dad's mind, that small dinner spat directly led to Matt's drunk driving accident later that night. It was illogical. Matt was nearly 19, an adult responsible for his own choices. I didn't force him to drink or drive, but my dad wouldn't hear it. In the waiting room, he got in my face, screaming that I'd driven Matt to this. He claimed I stressed Matt out, making him reckless. He yelled, "Your brother could have died and it would have been on you." It was so unfair I couldn't process it. I was a 17-year-old being blamed for something beyond my control. Even as I tried to explain that I didn't mean to upset Matt and that he made his own choices, my dad shut me down, saying I'd done enough damage. The situation got so heated that hospital staff asked us to leave because my dad was causing a disturbance. I left with my parents, crying, hoping they'd calm down and see how absurd it was to blame me. I thought my dad just needed time. But when we got home, he turned to me and said, "Go to your room, pack your stuff. You're not staying here anymore." I thought he was bluffing in anger or that I'd misheard. I looked at my mom, expecting her to protest, but she just stood there, teary-eyed and silent. My dad followed me to my room, tossed me a black trash bag, and told me to put my things in it and leave. I was in shock, sobbing, begging him to reconsider, but he just kept saying, "Hurry up." Within 20 minutes, I was out the door with my trash bag of belongings. My dad slammed the door behind me. Just like that, I was a homeless 17-year-old in the middle of the night with nowhere to go. I walked a few miles to my friend Sarah's house. Her parents were stunned but kindly took me in for the night. With help from generous people like Sarah's family, I finished high school. I worked part-time and eventually paid my way through community college. It was tough, but I made it. My parents never once checked on me during those years. It was as if I vanished from their lives the moment that door closed. Fast forward 8 years. I'm 25 now. I graduated community college, earned a bachelor's degree, and have a steady job. Recently, I hit a major milestone. I bought a small house. I'm proud to call it mine, especially after everything I went through. I built this life entirely on my own without any family support. In all those years, I had almost no contact with my parents or Matt. I heard bits about them from extended family. From what I know, Matt recovered from his injuries and remained the center of my parents' world. A couple of years after I was kicked out, they sold our old house and moved to a smaller apartment. They never reached out to me. We were completely estranged. Then, out of the blue, my parents contacted me. I was caught off guard. My mom left a voicemail saying she and my dad needed to discuss something urgent. I initially thought someone had died or there was a serious emergency. I almost didn't call back, but curiosity and worry got the better of me, so I did. When I returned the call, my mom sounded relieved. After some awkward small talk, she asked how I was and I answered vaguely. I waited for her to explain. She finally got to it. They wanted to know if they could move into my house for a while. I asked, "Are you serious?" Probably sounding incredulous. She explained that Matt had lost his apartment and moved back in with them, and now they're all struggling. It seems Matt's troubles are causing financial strain. They live in a small 2-bedroom apartment, and with Matt back home, likely not paying rent, they can't cover their expenses. Their solution was to ask if they could all stay at my house until they get back on their feet. My mom framed it almost like a family reunion, saying it could be a chance to reconnect and mend old wounds, emphasizing it would be temporary. She spoke as if I owed them, stressing that we're still family and families help each other. I was speechless. I hadn't heard from them in years, and their first real conversation with me is asking for a place to stay, along with Matt, the brother whose actions led to my expulsion. The nerve floored me. What stung most was that neither of them mentioned an apology. There was no, "We're sorry for how we treated you," or acknowledgement of the pain they caused. It was as if it never happened or was just old news. My mom sounded emotional, her voice shaky, clearly stressed, but she didn't express regret. She only said things like, "We haven't talked in a long time, but we need your help now." I told her I'd need to think about it. She put my dad on the phone. He didn't say much, just cleared his throat and said stiffly, "It'd really help us out, kid." He used to call me kid a lot. I gave a vague response like, "I hear you, but I need time to consider it." My dad sighed and said, "Okay, let us know soon." My mom ended the call hoping I'd agree because we need each other now. After hanging up, I sat on my couch, stunned. These people discarded me like trash, and now they're asking me to bail them out, to let them and Matt into my home, which I earned after years of struggle they caused. My instinct is to say no. The thought of them, especially Matt, living in my house after everything makes me feel ill. They showed me no compassion when I was a vulnerable teen with nowhere to go. Why should I save them now that their golden child is struggling? But they're still my parents, and they're aging. Part of me wonders if this could be a chance for closure or amends. I also feel a pang of guilt at the idea of turning them away if they're truly desperate. My mom sounded genuinely distressed, so I'm conflicted. Logically, I owe them nothing. They made their choices, but I worry I might regret shutting them out if something bad happens. If I let them in, it would only be with strict rules and a clear discussion about the past. I can't pretend nothing happened. Without a sincere apology and boundaries, this couldn't work. That's the situation. I can't believe I'm even considering letting them back into my life, but I am. I'm sharing this to check my feelings. Am I being harsh if I say no? Could helping them lead to something positive, or am I setting myself up for more pain? For now, I've told them I'll think about it. I'll update when I decide or if things change. Update 1. Thank you to everyone who responded to my original post. Many of you said I shouldn't even consider letting them move in without a real apology, and I agree. I decided to meet my parents in person to discuss everything before deciding. After some reflection, I set up a meeting on neutral ground, not at my house. We met yesterday at a local cafe for coffee. Seeing them for the first time in 8 years was strange. My dad looked older and weary, my mom seemed anxious. I sat down and it was awkward at first. No one knew what to say. I broke the silence, saying, "So you need my help. Let's talk." They explained that my dad lost his job a year ago and hasn't found work since. My mom works part-time, but it's not enough. A few months ago, Matt lost his job and apartment, so he moved back in with them. With Matt not contributing, they're struggling to pay bills. They rent a small 2-bedroom apartment, and their lease is ending soon with no way to renew. They're facing homelessness. I listened as they laid it out, stressing it would be temporary. It was clear Matt would come with them if I agreed. After they finished, I noticed they hadn't mentioned the past, so I asked calmly if they felt any remorse for how they treated me. I pointed out they hadn't brought it up. My mom teared up and said, "Of course we do. We made mistakes. It was a stressful time." It was vague, not a real apology. I pushed, asking if they understood how awful it was to abandon me at 17 and if they'd ever apologize. My mom, crying softly, said, "We're sorry, we regret it." My dad muttered, "Yeah, we shouldn't have done it that way," avoiding my gaze. It felt half-hearted, like they were apologizing because I pressed them, downplaying it as a mistake. I said it wasn't enough. I asked why they blamed me, why they cut me off. My dad said, "We thought it was best then. We weren't thinking clearly. Matt was struggling and we were scared and angry." "We're sorry," my mom added. "It's hard to explain. It was a terrible time." They kept speaking in generalities, which frustrated me. I told them they chose Matt over me and discarded me. My dad sighed, "We can't undo the past." "We regret it. What more do you want?" He sounded defensive. I said, "You have to understand, I can't just forgive and forget. You erased me from the family and now you want my help. That's a lot to ask." My mom said I had every right to be upset and thanked me for meeting them. She even said she was proud of how well I've done, which she'd never said before. I asked why they never contacted me in all those years. My mom said she wanted to but didn't know how to fix things and feared I wouldn't want to hear from them. My dad stayed quiet. I calmly shared how terrifying and painful it was to be abandoned, how hard I worked to survive. My mom cried quietly. My dad looked pained but listened. By the end, I was drained. They apologized a few times, but it felt like they wanted to brush it off and focus on their current need. My dad asked, "So what now?" I said I wasn't agreeing to anything yet. I told them their weak apology made it harder to consider helping, and if I did, it would be temporary with strict rules. They agreed readily. After a couple of hours, we parted ways. My mom gave me an awkward hug. My dad patted my shoulder. They looked worn and fragile, which tugged at my emotions, but I reminded myself they caused their own problems. I told them I'd decide in a few days. I'm leaning toward no or at most a short-term stay. I haven't decided yet. One more thing, Matt wasn't at the meeting, just my parents. But that evening I got a text from him. I haven't replied yet, unsure if I want to, but I'm curious what he wants to say after all these years. I'll update once I decide how to handle his message or when I make a decision. I'm still processing everything. Update 2. I decided to respond to Matt's text. I was hesitant, but curiosity and a faint hope he'd say something meaningful pushed me to reply. I texted, "Okay, what do you want to discuss?" He suggested a phone call, so we talked that night. Speaking to my brother after nearly 8 years was surreal. I wasn't sure what to expect, anger, excuses, or maybe remorse. It was a mix. We started with awkward small talk. He congratulated me on my house and job, likely hearing about it from our parents or mutual friends' social media. I thanked him and waited. He sighed and said, "I know this is messed up. I wanted to reach out because I owe you something after all this time." He apologized, saying, "I'm sorry for what happened back then. I never meant for you to get hurt or kicked out. My mistake ruined your life and that's awful." It wasn't perfect, but hearing him apologize was surprising. I said I appreciated it, but that an apology doesn't erase what I went through. We talked about the accident. Matt said he was out of it after the crash, dealing with a concussion and guilt. Our parents told him to focus on recovering. At first, they said I was staying with a friend temporarily. He didn't know I'd been kicked out initially, thinking I was just giving space. When he realized I was gone for good, he asked our parents what happened. They told him I chose to stay with our aunt and didn't want contact. He says he was upset and pushed them to reach out, but they insisted I wanted no part of them. He admitted he didn't try hard enough and got caught up in college, apologizing for being selfish. I told him I didn't choose to leave, I was forced out. He said he believes me and now sees how wrong it was. We talked about his situation. I asked how he lost his job and apartment. He got defensive, saying his company downsized, but admitted he wasn't a great employee. He fell behind on rent after medical bills drained his savings. There might be more, but I didn't push. Matt then addressed our parents' situation, saying Mom cries daily and Dad's not himself. He revealed Dad had a mild heart attack last year, which I didn't know. Matt said he's scared homelessness could harm Dad's health. That hit hard. I don't want them in dire straits. I told Matt I don't want them hurt but can't erase the past. He said he wasn't asking me to forget, just to help this one since they have no one else. I asked what he expected and if he felt responsible. He admitted, "It wasn't your fault I drove drunk. You didn't deserve what happened." Hearing, "It wasn't your fault," felt validating. I'd waited years for a family member to say it. He said he'd have done things differently and was a coward for not standing up. The call was emotional. I stayed composed but was overwhelmed by his apology, learning our parents lied about me leaving, and Dad's health scare. I told Matt I hadn't decided, and if I agreed, it'd be with strict conditions. He said he'd do whatever it takes. After days of reflection, I leaned toward letting them stay temporarily. I couldn't live with myself if something terrible happened, and part of me hoped for closure or healing. I called my parents and agreed to let them and Matt move in for a 3-month trial with a check-in. I set clear rules. They must work on their situation, job hunt, contribute to expenses, and respect my home and boundaries. I warned that if it harms my well-being, it ends immediately. They agreed to everything. I'll update soon on how it's going. I'm cautiously hopeful I won't regret this. Update 3. It's been 3 weeks since my parents and Matt moved in. I set a 3-month trial, but I'm already wondering if I can last that long. At first, everyone was polite, even having a few calm family dinners. But within a week, issues arose. My mom started reorganizing my kitchen, claiming it was to help. I politely asked her to stop as I like my setup. She got defensive, saying she meant well. Matt's messy, leaving dishes in the sink, clothes everywhere. I've reminded him to clean up. He says, sorry, and improves briefly before reverting. Then there's the job hunt or lack of it. Dad says he's applying, and Matt sent a few applications, but he sleeps in most mornings, and I come home to him gaming. I get he might be depressed, but it's frustrating when I'm doing them a huge favor. We haven't discussed the deeper issues since they moved in, just tiptoeing around them, coexisting politely. The tension's building. A few days ago, I overheard my parents in the kitchen when they thought I was out. My dad, in an annoyed whisper, said, "We just have to put up with it for now. Once we save enough, we'll get our own place. I can't stand her rules." My mom hushed him, but I didn't catch her reply. I was livid and hurt. My rules are basic respect in my home, and he resents it. It felt like proof they're using me and dislike my authority. That moment's been stuck in my head. I haven't confronted them yet, wanting to cool off, but it's hard to stay silent. Their entitlement is clearer now. I doubt this will last 3 months. I'm not sure it'll even last another week. I'm planning how to address the inevitable confrontation. I'll update after I handle it or if things escalate. Wish me luck. I feel like I'm on eggshells in my own home, and it's only a matter of time before it all blows up. Update 4, final. I'd had enough. I called a family meeting in the living room and laid it all out. I said I felt disrespected and taken for granted. I listed examples. Cleaning up their messes, my mom's kitchen meddling, and their lax job hunting. I said I opened my home in good faith, but they didn't seem to value it. My parents looked embarrassed. My mom apologized for the kitchen stuff. My dad said, "We don't mean to disrespect you, we're grateful." I brought up what I overheard, Dad complaining about my rules and saying he can't stand it. His face flushed, he was caught. My mom covered her face. Dad said he was just venting, that depending on his child is hard. I said I understood, but that it didn't excuse bad-mouthing me in my home when I'm helping them. I got emotional, saying I owed them nothing after what they did, yet I let them in, asking only for respect. Was that too much? Dad looked away, muttering, "You're right." Mom cried, begging us to calm down. Matt quietly said, "It wasn't okay," supporting me. I said if they resented my boundaries, this wouldn't work. I suggested we end the arrangement now, as it was too hard for me. Mom sobbed, pleading not to kick them out, saying they had nowhere to go and were sorry. It was tough seeing her cry, but I stayed firm. I took a breath and said I needed to know why they blamed me back then. They'd given excuses, not truth. Why was I the one they discarded? After a long silence, Dad, voice tight, said, "We were scared. We almost lost Matt. He was in a dark place mentally, saying it was his fault. We weren't thinking clearly. We needed someone else to blame." Mom, crying, said, "We thought blaming you would help Matt cope. We didn't consider what it'd do to you. By the time we realized, we were too ashamed to face it." Both were sobbing. It was the honest apology I'd needed, but it also angered me. I said their reasoning didn't erase the trauma of being abandoned as a kid. We sat in silence. I calmly but firmly said we couldn't keep living together. It was too painful and I needed space. I wouldn't kick them out immediately, but told them to find other arrangements. They nodded, agreeing. I offered to help find a rental or lend money, but Dad said I'd done enough. Over the next week, they packed. I helped Mom find an affordable short-term rental. Moving day was emotional. Mom hugged me, sobbing apologies and thanks. Dad shook my hand, then hugged me, saying, "I'm sorry." "Take care." Matt hugged me, apologized again, and promised to stay in touch. They left. It's been a few days, and I'm processing it all. Thank you to everyone who supported me. Your advice gave me strength to seek truth and stand firm. This is my last update. I'm now focusing on healing and moving forward.